Okay, you guys have been asking for this for a long, long time. Finally, the game room tour. Eat, drink, and be scary. For all the best game room tours, all start with a spin around the room. So there's the stairs. It's a little messy in here. Don't judge. This is organized chaos at best. Let's do a quick lap around the room, then we'll kind of get into the nitty-gritty. Freak out a little Carnage Venom action, a little Dracula. Got some Tonka Supernaturals, and it kind of flows into pictures of the kids so I don't forget what they look like if I spend too much time down here. Up first, we got the PlayStation shelf. So PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, we'll get into a little more detail here in a minute. Let me go over to the flat screen. We got Dreamcast, Wii U, Super NT, Mega SG, and PlayStation 5 all hooked up. I've got a 16-way HDMI splitter over there, and also the Retron 5. It's so awkwardly shaped, it's tough to find a good spot for it. And we got sort of a console tower here. So we got the Switch and the analog pocket, a couple controller charging stations, PS4, PS3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, a ROG Xbox, and just a bunch of random accessories. We also got the beautiful picture from Retro Rivals that Jen painted for us. Maybe it was Scott, I don't know. Mario. Got the Mojo Legends figure. And this creepy gesture I found at Goodwill. Because what am I supposed to do? Leave a creepy gesture at Goodwill? You can't do that. So we got a 36-inch Sony Titantron. I think it weighs 300 pounds. We got a top loader NES, a Dreamcast, a GameCube, and a original PlayStation, and Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, and PS2, and then the Wii all hooked up to that. And again, I got an 8-way splitter. Those cords are so heavy I have to put this little bubble head. A friend got me that from Italy. If I don't put that on there, the thing will tip over. The Ring Fit, which has never been used because I'm fat. A couple Joker figures up here. OG Xbox. Original NES, Super Nintendo, GameCube, Wii, Switch, Nintendo 64, DS, and 3DS. Those collections need a lot of love. They're pretty lacking. This is just cluttered. I don't have an excuse for that. This is sort of the Xbox shelf. We got OG Xbox 360, One, Series X, and then Wii U, because I couldn't find another good spot for it. The Master System card, a complete in box Game Boy game, my pathetic Saturn and Dreamcast collections. Everyone always asks, how do you fit all these board games? This is the Calyx wall. So it is 6 foot by 18 feet of these IKEA shelves called Calyxes. They're these little squares, which is nice for board games because they keep them closed. Look at all this space we got. Boom, completely empty cube. That's probably at least 6 Kickstarters right there. It's beefy. It's huge. Before we go down that wall, got Mary's grandmother's chair sitting in the game room. Couch. So this is the NES controller table Mary's been working on. I think it's done, and then she's also now currently working on a Sally leg lamp. She loves her arts and crafts. This is just sort of a staging area for pickups and games we need to learn. So it looks super cluttered and looks like crap. But back to the Calyx wall. Just up and down. Even got stuff on top. It's crazy. This wall is so crazy. We got a dehue and an air purifier. On the other side of the Calyx wall, we got the recording / game table. So this is a bit cluttered too. I probably should have cleaned this up, but whatever, I don't care. Filled with some random pickups, games that we're currently playing through to do reviews and all that. We got 2 light towers. That's our main camera for the videos. Then we got the overhead rig up here. So that way we can do top-down shots of board games. Of course, we got Galactus. There's no other place in this entire room to put them besides here. That was probably dumb on my part. Of course, we got the X-Men wall. It's huge. It's beautiful. It took me forever to build it. This is not the complete set. Unfortunately, with some of the rearranging we had to do, we got on a smaller wall, and so some of that didn't fit. I acquired that handicap sign, don't worry about it. They put butterfly clips on public sign. They wanted people to steal that. We got some of the original Gangsters Key to the Kingdom Hero Quest with a Polly Pocket. I've had that Carnage standee for, God, 30 years. I'm surprised it's lasted this long. This is kind of just an overflow shelf. Super cluttered. Looks like crap. This is super old. It'll probably get replaced at some point in time. This is the for sale pile. So as we play through all these games, if one of them does not tickle our fancy, we throw it in there. It's just random clutter. I don't even know what that is. That's the door to the unfinished side of the basement. I also forgot the Turtles row. Then we go right into movies. So Mary made me these dividers. So you I divided my movies up by genre. She painted these, hand painted these. So we got action. Come down here to animation. Mary is very talented. Then we got Christmas. I'm a sucker for Christmas movies. Comedy. Drama. This is kind of the horror, sci-fi, fantasy. We couldn't fit all of those on that little piece of wood. This is just a random bin of stuff I need to go through. And to the other shelf, I actually built this shelf. Very proud of that. I went with a super dark cherry wood to make it look kind of evil. My niece gave me the entire series of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z manga on these like big compendiums. You need to read through those. That's super awesome. Just random extra cases, and then the kids' movies. Then we get over to the buddy bought me this in Greece. I think that's the Greek god Dionysius, the god of good times. 2 pops. I don't do a ton of pops, but that Brutus Barber Beefcake signed. My Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. Then the Sega Tower. I don't do a ton of complete in box, but I got some. A lot more loose. Then it kind of flows into the Japanese stuff. So we got Famicom, Super Famicom, Japanese 64, and then just the tiniest amount of Master System. Lastly, here's our Game Boy holder. We haven't had time to start filling that up. This is sort of the kids shelf. Plus I stacked some random X-Men on there because I haven't figured out where to put them yet. Then we got all these kids' games. They do not put their games away like I would hope they would, but you know, it is what it is. And then we got an angel. I saw this beautiful angel at Goodwill, and she guards the collection right there at the door. That's one thing I did forget to show you. We got the Tiny Toonie Terrors wall. These have been harder and harder to find, so we currently have stopped at Guliana, and then everyone's favorite Peeper Pal. Okay, let's get in the nitty gritty here.
Pack your shit, we're moving.
Son of a bitch!
You heard right. We gotta move.
Yeah, which means we have to move the entire collection.
Whose dumbass idea was it to buy all those heavy-ass Kickstarters?
I have no idea, honey. No clue.
So, yeah. This is a day I didn't think would ever come. I thought this was our kids' childhood home. Mm-hmm. And,
we were going to be here until we retired.
Yep.
That was the plan.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we just put in a new pool 3 years ago. Well, we started putting a new pool 3 years ago. It got finished
2 years
maybe
ago.
about a year. Because we didn't get that full
first
first
summer.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it was a year.
Maybe a year and a half.
It was a year and a half ago, so it was May of last year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just a little backstory. So our oldest son, Max, goes to a school. I don't know if most people are familiar with the school rankings website, but they gave that school a 4 out of 10. And since he's been there for about a year and a half, he's got knocked down in the hallway. I think some kids were running up, not paying attention to what they're doing, knocked him down. He banged up his knee real bad. He's got hand sanitizer dumped on his laptop. He got his cell phone stolen. Unrelated to Max, some guy brought a gun to the school to wait for the mother of his children to try to shoot her in the drop-off lane. Luckily, the woman survived.
She was shot, though.
But she was shot at a school. A man brought a gun to a school to shoot someone completely unrelated to that school. Mm-hmm.
The bus also has on multiple occasions left behind him and other students because the transportation for the school is contracted out. And so when the bus driver leaves kids behind, they're not, the school isn't required to make them say you have to come back. So they don't, because they're like, well, you're not paying me. I'm paid by this other company. So if kids are left behind, which has happened a few times, more than once, they just leave the kids behind and the school has to figure out how to get them home. The only issue is that the school will shut off their phones at the end of the school day. So at 3:45 when the school closes, when school lets out for the day, they shut off their phones. So I cannot contact the school to find out what's going on when he's left behind, which is actually why he ended up with a cell phone to begin with, but then his cell phone got stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So
the cell phone was probably destroyed. We did the whole Find My iPhone thing. It's a brand new cell phone. He just got it Christmas of 22. And it dinged in the gymnasium and then hasn't dinged since. So they probably... I don't know if necessarily Max is being bullied. He's a 13-year-old kid, so trying to get any information out of him is next to impossible. So I don't know if all the torment is specifically directed towards him individually, or if it's just sort of the madhouse scenario. Hey, it's a phone. It's not Max's phone. Let's smash it. Hey, it's a laptop. Let's dump a bunch of hand sanitizer all over it. You know, they're just running through the halls. The kids were doing things in the bathroom that the school did not appreciate. I assume it's vaping. So they took some of the stalls off the doors. So if you got to poo in school, you get to poo with an audience. And, you know, all these things combined, we knew the school system was bad. We didn't know it was that bad. The elementary school, to their credit, is pretty good. So this all started about 18 months ago. So we ended up enrolling our daughter, Grace, in private school. And
Max is on an IEP. He is dyslexic and ADHD, so he does require extra help. Private schools are not required to provide that extra help through the IEP, although a lot of private schools will do that because they're not required by law. I have had issues in the past because, like, when he was on a 504, 504 was not enforceable by law like the IEP. When he was on a 504, they didn't enforce it. So if they're not required to enforce it, they don't always do that. So they might say, "Oh, we'll stick with that," but then they don't stick with that. So we need to make sure that he gets the help that he needs without having to, babysit the school and make sure that he is getting the necessary help that he needs to be successful. So a private school really was not something that we considered as an option for him.
And ultimately it came down to, well, if we put Grace in private school, we put George in private school, that was fine on our budget. But then, you know, the problems with Max getting into private school, and eventually decided maybe we move to a better school district. That saves private school money.
Right.
So basically, you could do the math of what's your current mortgage versus current mortgage versus your future mortgage. With the current mortgage, you have to add 2 sets of private school. So we could afford a brand new house in a wonderful school district. I mean, I think the high school is a 9 out of 10. The middle school might even be a 10 out of 10. The elementary school, I think, was a 7 out of 10, but it might be a brand new one.
It is pretty new.
So we still felt good about that. All those numbers are better than the current 4 out of 10 or the high school, which is a 3 out of 10 that he will go to next year. So ultimately, it was decided we needed to move. And we found a house. It's built in 2021. It's absolutely beautiful.
2022.
2022. I thought it was 21. But, so brand new. It still has the manufacturer's or the builder's warranty on it. Everything is bigger, right? Bigger kitchen, bigger living room, bigger dining room. Maybe not bigger yard, but all the bedrooms are bigger. The one thing that is not bigger is the room that has been deemed the new game room. So our current one is 416 square foot, which is really big.
You could say that's a conservative estimate because we underestimated that based on our measurements.
We use round numbers, okay?
We rounded down. Okay.
Still. And the new one is 240 square foot. So it's not quite half, but close enough to have for argument's sake. So that's, I mean, you saw the little game room tour that we did before this. It's not like we got a whole bunch of wasted space. So this collection is going to get drastically cut. And the first cut is the X-Men wall. There's not a spot. It's inconceivable to put that in this new game room. It is basically a 5 foot by 8 foot piece of art. It's a beautiful piece of art, and I love it. But I love all these games. I want to play all these games. I want to experience all these games. But at the same time, I'm a father. My first duty is to keep my kids safe. And if that means I gotta sell half the collection and downsize the room, that's what I'm gonna have to do. It's unfortunate. So, not to give a sob story about middle class family having to sell some of their toys because no one cares about that.
Right.
The main reason we want this video is talk about the future of the channel. For the time being, I had to turn off Retro Game Treasure. I had to turn off Video Games Monthly. And then I had to uninstall Kickstarter on my phone just to curb a lot of that. So, buying a house is very expensive.
Well, okay, so to be fair, the best way to sell our home because of our collection and all of our items in our home.
Not just the collection. The kids got a lot of toys.
The kids have a lot of toys. And in order to sell our home, it would sell easier and better if our stuff was not in the home.
Right.
So we needed to buy first and before we could sell.
Right.
So we will have a period of time where we have 2 mortgage payments and where we also don't have the money to put down on the new house that we bought. So our payments for that new house will be higher until we get the profit from the home that we live in.
Right.
So temporarily, we can't be spending any extra money on other things so that we can properly budget for the amount of time that we're going to be paying 2 mortgages and things like that. Right. But at the end of the day, with the amount of money we hope to make on our home that we live in now versus the good price that we got on the home that we are buying, our expenses will level out just nicely in the new house, and we'll be able to go back to some more of the subscription services again.
Right.
But it is a temporary
Yes.
thing.
Yes. Once we get this house sold, or basically emptied out and sold, a lot of that, some of the more collecting aspects can kick back into gear. Now, how the channel will shift is we're going to be more of a review channel and less of a pickup channel probably for the next 6 months or so. So we hope you guys stick around. We're still planning on doing funny little skits. I hope to do an entire series of building the new game room, setting everything up. I hope you guys will join us for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. The humor and all that will stay the same. Just won't be showing you as many boxes.
I mean, it's so the home itself is bigger,
yes,
but the game area is smaller. So the kids will get bigger rooms.
Georgie will have a rock climbing wall in his room.
Yes.
So
currently his room is was it 9 foot by 10 foot?
10 by 10.
10 foot by 10 foot, which that is, for a lot of children around the country, that's a blessing. He has his own room, which we know that's absolutely a blessing. But I don't think he ever really felt like it was fair because his older brother and sister had a lot more space in their rooms, and so all of his toys had to be down in the living room. So again, these are middle class problems that are not. I mean,
they're not real problems.
They're not real problems.
You guys bought a big giant house. Cry me a fucking river.
Right. We are well aware of how
blessed we are.
We are extremely blessed, and understand that like our living situation is we're extremely fortunate.
You're right.
So
Right. So we're not trying to do a sob story.
Not at all.
But we do want to address sort of the 800-pound Kickstarter elephant in the room that there's going to be some changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to sell some stuff I didn't want to sell. Not only for, I don't know who the fuck Ernest is, but I got to pay him 1% of the purchase price today. Who the fuck's Ernest? Ernest Scared Stupid? We talking about that the same guy?
yeah, I guess, or he goes to jail.
Yeah, he's in jail. He needs my money. He's going to jail. So I got to pay Ernest. We got to do a down payment. We got several minor home improvement projects. We
gotta
keep
get a
very
tree
good
cut
at.
down.
We got to get a tree cut down. That's $1,000. We got to stain the deck. That's
Work.
that's work, time, money. You got to pay for the brushes and water sealer. I mean, everything costs money.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably, as we start unloading, we're probably going to find holes in the wall and little scrapes, and we'll have to buy paint and buy, maybe drywall, we've been fixing some of the plugs, swapping out some of the plugs. And
The plugs in the house are old and they're crumbling. You need to maintain your electrical. We got a new box.
yeah, we need to fix.
The box
This.
is too big for the frame.
The box is too big for the frame, so we got to frame that up. But all that costs money.
Yeah,
And,
we have maintained our home very well.
and I'm losing half my game room, so if I'm already going to have to cut it down, I can't just immediately replace it with stuff.
Yeah.
So I need to cut it deeper, so that way the new game room still has ways to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna hurt. Selling this is gonna hurt. It's just it's so tough because it's just so big.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty.
It is very pretty. I love it. I might sneak a couple into the new house. We'll see. All right. Well, stay tuned. I know it sounds sad, but ultimately it is positive news.
Yeah.
And the grand scheme of our lives, it's positive news.
I think we will have, at the end of the day, after we move, we will have more time for the channel and more time to play our games, because moving into a new home means I'm not doing all the maintenance on an older home, because, as you know, on an older home, and our home isn't that old, but
In the 70s.
I tried to stay one step ahead of the game on anything with our home.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I anticipated, okay, the water heater's starting to look a little old. It's starting to look like it might kick the bucket any day. Replace that. So I tried to stay one step ahead of the game on everything in the house. But when you have an older home, you're always doing projects to stay in that state. Some
Right.
people live crisis to crisis. I always am one step ahead of the crisis, but that doesn't mean that the work is any less.
Right.
All the work that I continuously have to do on this house just to keep it up to date and keep things in a happy state, I'm not going to have to do anymore for at least 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll have maybe more time.
Yeah. More time. So we'll see that. I mean, we still got a couple of videos that we've already recorded. Just spoiler alert. That we got to get out, and we got a couple. We've got a retro game treasure right here. We got to do.
It's an old one.
But yeah, we'll see you around. We're not going anywhere. We just might change a little bit.
Yeah.
Just
Thanks,
like
guys.
a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. Bye.